We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. This passage from the Declaration of Independence lays the cornerstone of American democracy, affirming that ultimate authority rests with the people, not the government. It asserts our fundamental right to alter or abolish any government that oversteps its constitutional limits and threatens our liberties. The Founding Fathers recognized that tyranny does not dismantle itself. It persists until it is confronted. It is the duty of the people to assert their power and safeguard their inalienable rights against any encroachment. The mission of the Revolution Blueprint is to unite the courageous and unwavering patriots of this once great republic in the pursuit of reclaiming our government from the tyrannical forces that have seized control. Our Founding Fathers provided clear instructions. When a government exceeds its constitutional limits and becomes destructive to the rights of the people, it's not only our right, but our duty to alter or abolish it. This is not a call to action that should be taken lightly, nor did the Founders treat it as such. It is the most extreme, yet necessary course of action when a government strays so far beyond its constitutional boundaries that it no longer serves the people, but instead oppresses them. For far too long, both the Democratic and Republican parties have engaged in an unbroken chain of constitutional abuses, acting as mere puppets of the central banking cartel. These two parties maintain a stranglehold over every political office and government agency, ensuring that real change through traditional political processes is impossible. The time for trusting politicians and the political process of the system they control has long passed. The survival of our republic depends on the people reclaiming the power that is rightfully ours. Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Iobi. Welcome to the Revolution Blueprint, the foundation of a movement dedicated to reclaiming our government, guided by the vision of our Founding Fathers and rooted in unwavering commitment to the United States Constitution. The blueprint for uniting the people to dispel tyranny from our government follows the Founders' methodologies and instructions to the letter. The entire political system in the United States has devolved into a manufactured illusion of representation, a farce that operates outside the bounds of the Constitution and in direct defiance of the limited powers it enumerates to government. What was designed to be a constitutional republic where government derives its power from the consent of the governed has instead morphed into a self-sustaining oligarchy controlled by career politicians, unelected bureaucrats, and corporate interests that operate with total disregard for the constitutional restraints. The enumerated powers of government have been trampled under unchecked federal overreach, perpetual war, warrantless surveillance, bureaucratic rulemaking, and economic policies that serve the ruling class while indebting future generations. We no longer have a government of, by, and for the people. We have a political class that exists to serve itself, masking its corruption behind the illusion of elections, hollow rhetoric, and the illusion of opposition. The truth is, both parties are two sides of the same coin, protecting the system that enriches them while ensuring the people remain powerless to dismantle it. If the Constitution truly were honored, this bloated, corrupt, and unconstitutional monstrosity would not exist in its current form. The very fact that it does is proof that we are no longer governed by the Constitution. We are governed by those who openly defy it. The saddest truth of this reality is the American people openly accept this as normal. The conversation on how to shift this mindset and take back our government begins right here on the Revolution Blueprint. All right, so as you're getting to know me, I'm sure it's already becoming, pretty abundantly clear that I'm big on my Constitution, right? So I love it. Like I study it. It means everything to me. And the more that I identify with it, the more I learn it, the more I study it, the more frustrated that I get because I see what my government is doing that in such like extreme violation to the Constitution, and it literally like that, as that fire would burn inside of me, because I see the Constitution from the most logical term, like the most logical sense. I see it. It makes perfect sense to me. It's pretty cut and dry. So when I see something say this, and then I see them do that, like it burns me up. So I just want like you as like the Revolution Blueprint audience, the people that I'm trying to draw into this movement, I want you to understand how I tick, right? So I am 1000% Constitution. The Constitution for me ends all debate. I literally don't give two shits about your opinion. I don't mean that in a rude sense. I just don't. I care about the Constitution. And if your opinion is in conflict with the Constitution, I don't give a shit about it. If your opinion is in line with the Constitution, then I'm appreciating you for your intellect, like, because you have a constitutional intellect, right? But I want you to get to a place to where my opinion doesn't matter either, to where the Constitution is all that matters to you as well, because the Constitution literally ends all debate. It doesn't matter what someone thinks. It doesn't matter what someone's interpretation of. Words have meaning. When words are put together in sentences, those sentences have meaning, right? The Constitution is a document. It is a contract between the states. It establishes the federal government, and it puts limits on that federal government, as we talked about before, and that government is supposed to conform to those limits. It's supposed to follow the Constitution, and it drives me insane when it doesn't. And here, as a father, as a veteran, as a patriot, as one that loves my country, I love God, I love my country, I love my family, and I want my family, I want my children to have the liberty that my Constitution promises to them. Or I should say that my Declaration of Independence promises to them. And I know in the hearts of moms, dads, grandparents, you want that for your kids too. And if our kids and our grandkids and their grandkids are going to have what our Declaration declares for them, we have to come together and make our Constitution count. We have to make it matter. So everything that I talk about in this show and all the shows, that are forthcoming, it's all related to making the Constitution matter. It ends all debate, and it has to count. It has to count. It has to be applied. They have to conform to it, or we are going to find ourselves in a very dark place in a very near time. So having said that, today we're going to talk about a few things where the government is actually defying the Constitution and how egregious these politicians have been violating our Constitution. And this particular act, this particular violation is the most egregious violation of the presidential powers that I've ever seen since I've been, studying, keeping my eye on government. And that was the former president, Joe Biden's use of the executive pardon powers. Whereas he put blanket pardons out for the entire January 6th committee, his son Hunter, two of his brothers, both of their wives, and the one that it drives us all crazy is the Dr. Fauci, and then even General Miley. Some of these people that have received these blanket pardons that aren't worth the paper that they're written on because they're not constitutional in any way, shape, or form, but have committed treason and high crimes against this country. And you know what the worst part is? They're still serving in government. And the Republican Party is silent. They're as still as a mouse the night before Christmas. They're not doing anything. In fact, they co-opted the language that the Democrats in the Democrat media, or I should say the propaganda media, has been using in relation to these pardons, right? So the entire January 6th committee, I guess, consists of Benny Thompson, chairman. He's the ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee. Liz Cheney, she was the vice chair. She was a former representative. She's no longer in government, but I'm sure she's still lobbying or connected, getting some kind of money from the government in some way, shape, or form. Probably owns multiple NGOs, and she's probably got several government contracts going to those NGOs. So Lofgren, he's still a committee member. He's a representative collecting a paycheck from our government. Adam Kinzinger, who knows where that little girl is. Adam Schiff, sitting. He's a United States Senator. collecting a paycheck and deciding he has a vote on treaties. He has a vote on confirmations. This guy literally, he is the epitome of a traitor. He's committed treason at the highest levels. The entire Russia hoax was orchestrated by this clown, and he's still collecting a paycheck after he's been issued a pardon. Pete Aguilar, committee member and representative, also still collecting a paycheck. And the clown Jamie Raskin, also still sitting in Congress collecting a paycheck. Stephanie Murphy and Elaine Luria. Again, these representatives that serve in government for periods of time almost always tend to have, their hand in the cookie jar with whether it's some NGO or some type of government grant or contract that's going and maybe stepping down 1, 2, 3 levels. We'll get into that when we start talking about spending. But the most important thing that we need to emphasize and concentrate on right now is the fact that these people have received blanket pardons for crimes that aren't being stated. Did you hear that? Blanket pardons for crimes that aren't being stated. So if we just take and put the actual terminology for pardon under the microscope, which it's in the Constitution, words have meanings. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, so whatever meanings that are in the Constitution are supreme, right? So having said that, the pardon power, the power to pardon is the power to offer clemency to reduce sentence for a crime that's been committed, right? There's nothing in the Constitution that states that there must be a conviction. But the definition of pardon is to reduce sentence. To forget a full pardon is to reduce the entire sentence, to forgive the entire sentence, and remove the crime from your record. The word pardon, the definition of pardon, is clemency. It's the highest form of clemency, to forgive or reduce a sentence for a crime. A blanket pardon that says that you cannot be prosecuted or even investigated for crimes throughout this whole period of time, that's not a pardon at all. What that is immunity from prosecution. The president does not have any powers in Article 2 that are enumerated to it to provide immunity from prosecution to anyone. This is elementary shit. A pardon is to forgiveness, the act of clemency for a crime. It's to forgive the crime and reduce the sentence. That's a full pardon. It's off your record. No time served, no more time served, what have you. These people are still serving in government when they've been pardoned for some crime, right? The media would tell us that these blanket pardons don't actually, confirm that someone's committed a crime, that these people needed to be protected from unfair prosecution. I mean, isn't that what the Constitution exists for, to protect them from unfair prosecution? Should everyone receive a pardon to protect them from unfair prosecution? I can tell you firmly, definitively, I don't need immunity from prosecution. I don't need a pardon for anything because I haven't committed any crimes against this country. But millions of us know that the entire January 6th committee committed high crimes against this country. January 6th was an orchestrated event. Doesn't matter what you believe, what you think, the bottom line is the facts are the facts. And the reason that the entire January 6th committee was given a blanket pardon for all the crimes that they may have committed while serving on the January 6th committee is because they basically were shielding their investigations, their false investigations were shielding the evidence that proved that it was orchestrated by the government. They orchestrated the January 6th movement to run cover for the fraudulent election that they had every intention of certifying back in 2020. You can disagree with me all you want, but the bottom line is the pardons are here. They do exist, and they exist for a reason. You don't pardon innocent people for crimes they didn't commit. That's just nonsense. I mean, this is elementary shit here, right? The problem that I have is that these people that have been pardoned are still serving in my government. They are still collecting paychecks from our treasury. People that have committed high crimes against the United States of America. Treason. This January 6th And that in fact, the manner, the way that they've been pardoned exposes the orchestrated event. What in the world could the January 6th committee could possibly need blanket pardon? The crimes are so extensive that they need blanket pardons to protect them from all of it. What could it possibly be that the January 6th committee would need pardons for if the event was not orchestrated? It wasn't an insurrection. Not a single person, not one, was charged with insurrection. Not one. They were charged for trespassing, and a lot of people were charged for committing acts of violence against police. I can tell you that I witnessed with my own eyes some little fat cop dressed as a Capitol Police officer walking up to another cop. This was on video, stating, "Are you ready for this? You ready to do this?" And then they just started pulling the pins out of the rubber ball grenades and they tossed them into a peaceful protest, and then chaos ensued. That is what's being covered up through pardon. That's what's being protected, I should say, through blanket pardons. Someone orchestrated that. Someone was behind telling that person that was dressed like a Capitol Police officer, probably an FBI, a member of the FBI or what have you, the greatest criminal entity that America's ever known, right? But someone instructed that person to fire those rubber ball grenades or rubber pellet grenades into the peaceful protest to create the chaos. Someone ordered the Capitol Police to move the barriers and open the doors and let the people in. We all saw this. We all saw it. So for the January 6th committee to receive pardons, clearly there's obviously the government was acting in nefarious behavior, because these are all people that were elected officials, representatives of government, right? So obviously crimes have been committed. Pardons have been issued. So it's an orchestrated event. These people are still serving in government. 3 Capitol Police officers committed suicide. The odds of that, I have a better chance of hitting the Mega Millions and the Powerball back to back than 3 police officers committing suicide, succumbing to PTSD from having to work out there and defending the Capitol against protest, right? I mean, isn't that their job? Isn't that what a Capitol Police officer stands to do? There's protest in government all the time. That's the main hub of government. That's the Capitol. So to think that these 3 police officers just decided to take their own lives because they were traumatized by dealing with people, dealing with protesters is about as dumb as it gets. These 3 officers knew something, or they had a problem with something. They were confronted by the truth, and they had a problem with it when they probably voiced their concerns about what they saw or what they knew. Then they suddenly decided to, kill themselves, maybe 2 to the back of the head, right? The biggest crime that happened on January 6th was Ashley Babbitt was murdered. One of these fuckers, or all of these fuckers on this January 6th committee, was involved in her murder. It was an orchestrated event. Someone was instructed. If you watch that film, that despicable film, or that despicable officer just pointing his gun at an innocent veteran of the United States Air Force that wasn't causing any harm, she wasn't acting erratic, she wasn't trying to break into anything, he just aimed his gun at her, pulled the trigger, and killed her. And these fuckers knew about it. And they're pardoned, and they're still collecting paychecks. January 6th, all the things that happened to all the patriots that were standing in protest, how their constitutional rights were just trampled upon. And the Republican Party just sat still and let those people rot in prison. It fucking infuriates me to listen to people today rally behind the Republican Party as if that party is anything even remotely close to fitting or being, in line with the America First agenda. All of those people sat in prison. That guy still, the person that shot Ashley Babbitt, that piece of shit, is still walking around today collecting a paycheck from the government. The January 6th committee, you know damn well that snake Jamie Raskin, that little weasel Adam Schiff, and even that clown Benny Thompson, and probably the rest of them, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, they all had knowledge of it. They all knew what the government was up to that day. There was no way that they were going to allow the Congress to put forth the resolution that would have required the electoral votes be sent back to the states with all the evidence that was presented that surrounded the election theft of 2020. There was no way that they were just going to let that get introduced to the House floor and be the mainstream. And like, they had to create the diversion. They had to create January 6th to take the eye off of the election steal so they could certify a fraudulent election. So as we stand here today, like, it is incumbent upon the President of the United States, his Attorney General, and his Director of the FBI to make sure that these people are held accountable. These pardons are not worth the paper that they were wrote on. Whether Joe Biden signed them or not, they're not constitutional. And to co-opt that language of like these people are pardoned, I mean, is insanely stupid to me. Like, there's no way that I'm the only person in this country that gets this. Like, these people, if Kash Patel, if you don't get this, man, you shouldn't be the FBI director. But we know he gets it. We know that the President of the United States gets it. We know that Pam Bondi gets it. Clearly, the Republican Party gets it. They just don't care. So these people have to be prosecuted. Justice has to be served. The Russia collusion, the Ukraine impeachment hoax, like the election theft, like the attempted assassination on the President of the United States, or the nominee for the Republican Party and a former President of the United States at the time. Like, these things need to be investigated and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Treason needs to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And I can't say it enough that this is what plagues us as a nation. The people that we elect into our government, the people that they appoint, the people that they hire, they're not following our Constitution. And our Constitution, literally, our founding fathers are rolling in their graves. The Constitution has to matter. And when it doesn't matter, Ashley Babbitt's get murdered. Patriots sit in prisons with every single constitutional right that they have being violated, like openly and brazenly. When the Constitution doesn't matter, the government spends $3.6 trillion on federal bureaucracy, $3.6 trillion to carry out 18 enumerated powers. That's what we're going to get into next. But the Constitution has to matter. If we don't care about the Constitution, we don't care about our country, which in turn, I'm looking you right in your face. You don't care about your kids and you don't care about their future. You are lucky to be born in this country. You are lucky. You are blessed by the God above to be a United States citizen. We are supposed to be the freest country in the world. Our constitutional republic is supposed to be the greatest experiment of liberty that's ever been known to man. And we just take that for granted because we're caught in this fucking two-party system where one party believes, or all the voters of this party that are aligned with this party believes, that every fucking thing that's been going wrong in this country is the other party's fault. Flip it over and it's the same. This party thinks it's the other party's fault. Meanwhile, both parties are just wiping their ass with your Constitution, stealing every freaking faction of liberty that you have, and just spending your 5 generations of our future into oblivion. Like, when does it count? It's the only thing that I stand for, is making that Constitution count. Because when it counts, I swear we will be living in the land of utopia. Every race, every gender, every ethnicity, if we make the Constitution matter, if we enforce all the terms of the Constitution without waiver, Every single person in this country, no matter what race, ethnicity, or gender, your life will get significantly better. I'll say this to you. I know in my heart that there are millions of American citizens, patriots, veterans, bikers, that all believe in our Constitution. I'm not the only one. And the entire goal, the entire mission of the Revolution Blueprint is to draw those people together. The millions of us who think like this, talk like this, and feel like this, we have to come together. We have to stand united. As I've said 1,000 times, the government does all that it does. Every violation, every act of theft, every act of waste, every act of fraud, every foreign war, all of it, every nation that they've toppled, every heinous act of your CIA, every heinous act from your FBI, it all happens because they don't fear the power that the people are supposed to have over our government. They don't fear it because we don't exercise it. And the only way for us to exercise that power is to unite. I'm not talking about overthrowing government with violence. Our founding fathers were genius in their time. They wrote a perfect document. That document ensures that we never need to have a revolution again. I threw that word in the book just to attract you because that's what we believe needs to happen. It's our government. We have the power over government. A man can't overthrow his own house. The government belongs to us. We're the masters. The Revolution Blueprint is exactly that. It is a blueprint for following the founding fathers' methodology and instructions to the letter and uniting the people to reclaim our government from the tyrannical forces that are controlling it and raping it of all its resources. The Revolution Blueprint is just that. It is a blueprint that follows the founding fathers' methodologies and instructions to the letter for dispelling tyranny from our government. These people have been raping our land of all of its resources. This needs to stop. There is no future for us if we don't come together and put an end to this. Peacefully. Our power is in our numbers. If you just think about for 1 second, why the rest of the world never invades America. The United States has committed more heinous acts against other countries in this world than probably all the other countries put together. Yet no nation invades us. And there's a reason for that, because we have the strongest military in the world. So they respect us. They might hate us, but they respect us. All I'm asking, or all I'm suggesting, is for the people to come together and follow that same fundamental, process, to create strength, to create a strength, to unite in numbers so great that the tyrants in our government have to respect us because they fear us. Everything they do because they don't fear retaliation from the people. They have us so divided or so polarized in our division that we won't come together to defend our republic. That's the purpose of all the division. That's the purpose-driven media. The propagandists is to gaslight you in every direction, to have you fighting amongst each other to where you won't come together to defend your republic. What is more important to you? Being a Democrat or your children's future? Being a Republican or your children's future? I can tell you, both voters, whether you're a Republican voter or you're a Democrat voter, both parties suck. Both parties are responsible for every single ounce of waste or dollar of waste, every ounce of corruption that's been committed against this nation. Both parties are equally culpable. Both parties have their own unique things that, like the other side, hate. I get it. But when it comes to $7 trillion a year, both parties are involved in that. Right now, all I hear is from the Mark Levins, from the Andrew Wilkows, from all the your rank and file, media celebrities that are in, I guess, what you would call political journalism, is the Democrat spending. People that I know that are otherwise intelligent, are same thing. They're Republican voters, so it's the Democrat spending. The Democrats are defending their spending like the Democrats are the only ones that are involved in all the waste, fraud, and abuse. I can assure you that if the cards fall, the Republican Party is going to be equally involved in it. For 50 some years, it's been two parties destroying this country. In the words of the great Forrest Gump, that's all I have to say about that. I thank you for joining me on the Revolution Blueprint today on episode 1, the beginning. There's a lot more content to come, a lot more to follow, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks. God bless. Have a great week.